Hello and welcome to the Motivational Millennial Podcast. I'm Blake Brandis.
And I'm Ivy LeClaire.
Today we are having a conversation inspired by our interview with Molly Mandelberg, who helps people figure out all the technological systems they need to create awesome businesses. And
I just thought of something.
Tell me what you just thought of.
What if we called these inspired conversations? Wait, did we already have this conversation?
Whoa, that would be so meta.
Did we already
if you came to the same conclusion
twice?
It's like Memento. It's like you write it all down and then you find a file on your computer where you already wrote it all down.
We should call them inspired conversations. Did we already think of this?
Did we? Is it sound a little Oprah-y? Was that one of the things we
inspired conversation
read about?
I feel like we might have already thought of this.
Yeah. I mean, I like it.
I keep coming back to it, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, inspired conversation.
I don't know, it's been a while since we recorded some of the other inspired conversations.
That's true. I mean, I guess the question is, does it feel a little self-congratulatory? It's like, yo, these conversations, mad inspired. You're going to feel so inspired when you
Well, the conversations themselves are inspired. We're not calling them inspiring conversations.
Inspiring. Oh, good point.
I mean, we hope they're inspiring. I mean, otherwise, that's the goal. But I'm just saying we're calling them an inspired conversation because it's inspired.
The adjective form makes a difference. Well done. Well done. All right.
Language.
So we may have already decided that, but in case we didn't, now we have.
Yeah. Let's try it. Let's keep it in our mind for this particular inspired conversation and see how it happens.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So this inspired conversation, we're going to be spinning off a couple things that Molly mentioned. One of the ideas that was really powerful was this idea of if you don't know what you want to do in life or you're trying to do something and it's just not working, Molly said, ask other people what you're good at. And it seems sort of simple on one hand because you're like, oh, okay, sure. Ask other people, what am I good at? But the thing is, we're so in our own head, in our own mind, and we take for granted the stuff that we do really well that other people notice or may not feel like they can do quite as well for themselves.
Has that happened to you where, somebody gave you some feedback on either you asked someone specifically or you got some feedback on things you were good at that you were like, oh.
Yeah, that's a great question. Speaking in schools has been part of that, actually.
Oh, sure.
It was initially principals and teachers were like, hey, Blake, you're into hip-hop and education. Our kids love hip-hop and they hate education. Can you come in and talk to our kids? So I was just like, I mean, that's just kind of what I do. So sure, But then it was like, oh, and we can pay you. Whoa, that's cool and different. So that definitely led to a career path that was not expected.
Yeah.
I think another area would be coaching, actually, which is, again, you started out doing the professional coaching in our business with Motivational Millennial, and I didn't really think that would be a thing. And then some people were like, hey, you should also coach. You actually told me that too. Not gonna pretend like you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I've been saying that from the beginning.
Yeah, you have.
You're like, some people.
One of whom may be in this room.
Yeah, but I was, encouraging you from your business partner and friend perspective, but you had people reach out to you because they just wanted coaching and advice from you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they didn't know to call it coaching every time, but they're like, hey, would you be able to support me on this project or this thing? And it's like shifted into it being a coaching style relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Has it happened to you? Has anyone ever asked you like, oh, hey, can you help with this? And you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was something that I was good at. Or that you might not have thought of I
don't know. I mean, I feel like I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I feel like the fact that I make people safe, nobody's been like, hey, Ivy, you really make me feel safe. Right. Because that's not how we talk normally. I mean, you and I do, and other people in our jargony world. But, the fact that people consistently and throughout my life have opened up to me, either people who I've worked with or not just close friends or complete strangers, people that I've known, and they might break down and start crying and just be having like a very vulnerable moment. And then they'll go, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I don't normally do that. And that happens to me a lot. Like that's really
Mm-hmm.
normal. So, I feel like nobody's explicitly saying Ivy make me feel safe, but I always knew that there was something about me that must, because people feel comfortable and I hold space for that. It's like that is a natural thing that
Yeah.
I was never taught to do, but I can hold space for them. I can hold them. I mean, yeah. I've had complete strangers start crying and be like, be holding them. I don't even know them. I mean,
Yeah, and I think that's extended even into your facilitation work. Like you have a great way of holding a safe space for a group in addition to just individuals. So I'm specifically thinking of a company that reached out to you to do some training for their employees in an area that you didn't necessarily have a bunch of experience in,
right.
but they were like, "You're a really good facilitator, and we know you'll do a great job on this."
Yeah. I did a workshop on microaggressions.
Exactly.
And I had not, I mean, I care about the subject a lot. I know above average about the subject, but that can be a challenging conversation to have. And
Mhm.
so to be able to hold that space. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that if we're thinking about advice or perspectives or something, it's like, what feedback are you getting from other people, either explicitly or otherwise, that where you are making an impact in people's lives or something that you are naturally good at or something that people are really naturally wanting from you, and how can that become a part of your life in some way?
That's a good point because we can so often discount the stuff we're good at. Like, oh, I mean, I guess I'm good at that, but
Yeah.
whatever. We always feel like we have to do the thing that's hardest for us versus sometimes it's like, what if the easiest path is a great path here? What if you're really good at working on cars and people always ask you to help fix their cars? It's like, great, maybe you could do that.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just thinking about, in that particular example, what types of skills and perspectives, I see perspectives a lot, but I'm just saying, like, what kind of skills and ways of thinking about things would make you good at working on cars? And if you don't want to spend all of your time working on cars, it's just like a hobby type of thing. What attributes make you good at that, and how can you combine it with something that you really care about too?
That's a
It's a
great
good way to
point.
think about it.
Yeah, I mean, when I started doing strategic consulting with a nonprofit, it was kind of like a video game in the sense of building like this entire system. And so
Huh.
to your point, when I was doing it, I was like, oh yeah,
Like an
this is
RTS?
yeah, exactly. It's like RTS or even a turn-based strategy game or
Yeah.
like Civilization or something where you're managing a
Yeah.
giant empire and you gotta
Yeah.
manage your resources and your armies and attack and
Nice.
defend and everything. And so yeah, but to your point, those transferable skills really helped. And I obviously didn't go into that conversation with the CEO saying, "Oh, by the way, I can help run your organization like a real-time strategy game." But I didn't stop myself either, and I looked for opportunities where I could use those skills. So I think you're right as sort of as we scale out to what's applicable for our listeners here. It's take a look. What are the things you love to do and that people ask you about? And that's the thing. Sometimes they don't even have to ask you like to do them for them, but like they might ask you, "Oh yeah, you know a lot about this." Like,
Hmm.
and so some of those areas of expertise you might not even realize.
Yeah. Well, I'd say one of the things that the conversation inspired in this conversation for me
Whoa, that was so meta. Run it back. No, I'm just kidding. Keep going. We get
just
it.
keep moving forward.
Yes.
Was in a similar way, I guess, the importance of having a tribe or having people around you who you can trust, who can also push you to grow. And it's people who hold you strong and believe in your capacity to succeed, believe in your potential, and also are willing to point out some of your growth areas or your weaknesses or things that might be holding you back, right?
Sure.
And I actually think those are both holding you strong, right?
Yeah.
Because in fact, if you have people around you that you can trust and who trust you enough to know that they can say, "Hey, here's something that I'm seeing that's a pattern that keeps coming up, that might be getting in the way, or have you thought about this alternate perspective to how you're viewing this?" That's holding you strong And you want people around you who are going to hold you as strong, see you as capable, who aren't going to baby you and who aren't going to treat you like a victim. And you don't want to treat yourself like a victim.
That's right.
You don't want to allow yourself to be treated like a victim. It's like the difference between sometimes in my mind when I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so stressed out. I just want to go back to bed and go to sleep. Like, yes, I could make that decision. Yes, that's a decision that I've made in the past before, like probably more than once, let's be real. But in those moments, I was not holding myself as strong. There are times when it's important to recharge, and there are times when you're treating yourself like you're not as strong, like you're not capable. In those moments, when I go, no, actually, I can handle this day, and I have a great partner like you, and I have a great friends that are like, no, you can handle this, like get up and go. You know, that's super important.
Yeah, I think one of the ways to distinguish that, at least for me sometimes, is to ask myself, am I doing this to escape from doing something else or escape from something else? Or is this genuinely what I want to do right now? And that for me is a good litmus test of sort of like self-care versus avoidance.
Right, because a lot of times, especially in entrepreneurial field or business owners and that sort of thing, there's a tendency to work extra hard, like so hard that you don't give any self-care. But then you can also swing to the other side, which I've had moments of that where I'm coddling myself too much, you know? And neither of those things is fulfilling. They're unfulfilling in different ways, but neither of them is creating joy and happiness and excitement about your life. Because in one, you're like, you're never doing enough. And in the other one, you're not capable enough. You're just not enough. You know, it's like either of them is just not. So finding that middle path and that middle road. And it's really listening to yourself. And I like that question. Am I escaping? Or, you know, you can feel a difference. But for some people, I think, you know, there could be a trick that happens where it's like anything that isn't work is escaping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's you, but I'm saying that could be a trap for some people too.
No, I see that. Yeah, I think you're right. You know, one of the things you said earlier that I really liked and wanted to highlight before we got too far down the train was holding people or finding people who hold you strong. I think that's so powerful because sometimes it can be easy to gravitate towards people who are going to criticize us, whether consciously or unconsciously. Like share this idea with someone who we know tends to like poke holes in everything all the time as the first, because like, I don't know if this is a good idea. And they're like, no, it's a terrible idea. Or they might say, I don't know, like, if you really thought about this, you probably need more schooling for it. You know, they're going to confirm that part of us that wants to hide and say, oh, good. You know, it sort of lets us off the hook, right?
That's so true.
So it can be tempting to be like, oh, no, that's realism. But what I love about people who hold you strong is people who, if you say, I want to do this thing, they say, I believe you can do this thing. What do you need to do it? And they have the ability to call you out if you're doing the avoidance stuff. Well, I probably need to, you know, get 5 more years experience. And it's like, really? Like, is that really what you need? Or do you just need to go and make a website right now? You know? So yeah, I think that's powerful. And to your point, people who hold you strong and are willing to challenge you, even when it's uncomfortable. I just think of my mother. She has a great way of providing feedback. She knows that I'm a sensitive person, so I can always tell in her eyes. She's like, I want to give you this feedback, even though I know you're not going to love it at the time, but it's going to make you better. And that's sort of the spirit I often tend to receive it in. It's like, I know I need this, but I'm not going to like it, but okay. And I'll just give you one example. Early on, I would have a tendency, especially when I would get nervous in speeches, to go into this kind of Southern Baptist preacher voice. And so my mother would give me some feedback. She's like, you know, at a certain section there, you kind of got a little Southern Baptist preachery. And it was helpful because it just made me recognize that I thought I was doing it in a way that was inspirational, but it came across as put on or affected, like it wasn't authentic. And you've given me similar feedback, which has been really helpful at various points in our speech writing endeavors together.
Yeah. And I think also just to, you know, definitely to affirm your experience also in that it's kind of hard to hear feedback from our parents at all.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, I just think that's just sort of a normal, like, you could be getting the exact same feedback from literally anyone on the planet and it wouldn't be as hard to receive. I just think that's a normal human thing. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a great point because it's so
like,
charged. I mean, even normal stuff with our parents, if it's
right.
like someone's like, hey, can you set the table? Your mind immediately goes to be like all the times when I'm like, you made me set the table and I wanted to read a book instead. Like, whoa, like where's that coming from?
It's like, you don't think I know how to set the table?
That's right. I'm 30 years old. I'm a competent adult. You're right. It's always charged with parents and authority figures.
I want to affirm that, but I think,
yeah, I'm not saying that's a good point. I'm not suggesting your mom be your go-to person.
Exactly. I was going to say that it's probably good to have someone additionally to your parental unit to have that, because somebody who is like your peer and who's really understanding where you're coming from. Because again, you and I have a tribe right now of this freelancing, coaching, performing people. And so our life looks a certain way. But if you are in travel, your life is going to look a certain way. If you're in music, your life is going to, in advertising, like everybody's lives are going to look different. So it's important to have people who are in the field that you want to be in. Mm-hmm. Either you're already in there or you're wanting to get to that field, and be around them so that you're getting validation around what's really important, around the life that you're actually wanting to create, and from like a relevant lens. You know what I mean? Because even our closest friends who have our closest friends are like, I love you. I really want you to be happy. But there are certain things that it's challenging to take to them when they don't have any kind of lens or perspective of what that looks like in your world, because their world is totally different, if that makes sense.
Totally. And I think sometimes that's the reason that a supportive therapist or coach can also be really helpful, is because it's someone who says, hey, I don't have all your backstory baggage. And some of his friends do too. Like, they knew when you were like not at your best or whatever, and they've seen the challenges, and they also know what you've been through. So, I mean, friends are awesome, but I think sometimes, for me at least, having that third person perspective that says, hey, I just met you. I have some experience in this field. I like what you're doing. Let me just give you a few things that you might be able to do differently. I know you can do this. I'm going to support you. I think that's huge, because then it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm competitive, or oh my gosh, we got all this history, I'm going to let them down. I don't want to tell them everything. Like, so sometimes just having the professional relationship with a therapist or a coach, I think, can be really helpful, because it can let you be honest with yourself and honest with them in ways that can be kind of hard to do if you've got a lot of history with people sometimes. Because, you don't want to come across as like, oh, my life is so amazing, and make them feel like, oh, their life is crappy. Or on the flip side, be like, oh, my life is terrible. Like, and then feel like you're burdening them with all the ways your life is terrible. So that was a long rambling.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, not that it was rambling. I stepped over that because I didn't think that it was rambling. And also, I do want to say that I think it's important that we also know that other people's experience of our lives is not our responsibility.
Yes.
And so it's important for us to make sure that we're not like overstepping boundaries that are making people feel uncomfortable or something like that, But in a relationship with a therapist or a coach, you're like in a setting wherein those boundaries are really clear. Yeah. So like if you're having really big struggles with your spouse or your children or something like that, so you don't have to be talking to them, or you don't have to just be talking to your friends. Your friends can be a great perspective, but you need to be able to have someone, at least in my experience, therapist, to come in and be like, this is all the stuff I think. These are the things I do like. These are the things that I want. And all the stuff that, you don't want to say to anyone else, just like have a safe space to do that, with your therapist, or all the dreams that you might have, or concerns that you might have about achieving your dreams with your coach. I can see definitely the benefit of having a relationship that has very specific boundaries where you're coming and you're talking about a certain thing, and also a lot more freedom, because the boundary is set up to where it's like you can pretty much say whatever you want and whatever you need to say.
That's a great caveat, because I think we usually have the opposite problem with getting other people's opinions, which is we often tend to act out of fear of how other people are going to judge us or other people aren't going to like stuff. And so I think it's a really good point that you're making, the bigger point about not necessarily having to have everyone else's reality be your own reality for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And also your point about having a coach or a therapist that has clear boundaries because they have a responsibility to help you be your most fulfilled self. That's their main goal. They don't have necessarily other agendas at work in supporting you or not supporting you.
Right. And to that end, I'm a big advocate of having a team. I know I've said this multiple different times and I'll continue to say it, having a team of your close friends, of your partner, of your business partner, of your family, and also mentors, business coach and life coach and therapist. That's me. I've got a huge team. I've got a huge project I'm working on right now, and I'm leaning into individuals, and I'm also leaning more into communities, because I know that the bigger the dream that I have, the bigger I have to grow, the more I'm going to need support from other people. And that's not because I'm going to need support from other people so that I don't have to get bigger. It's because I'm going to have to get a lot bigger, and I need other people's support to help me get bigger, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one of our mentors, Jesse Corin, says big dreams need big support. Is that our big goals? Do you remember what the quote is?
No, but I forgot that, but that's really good.
Yeah.
Maybe it osmosis into my brain.
It totally did. Because it's so true. When you're trying to do big stuff, it does require big support. And it's easy to feel guilty. I have a major problem certainly feeling guilty about asking other people for help. Like, oh, I don't want to burden them, don't want to ask them. And we actually recently brought someone on the team who's helping out with some logistics. And I had to explicitly say to her, okay, I need you to give me the permission to give you the things that I think, oh, I don't want her to have to do that stuff. Like, you need to tell me, no, give me that stuff, because I have empathy overdrive. And I'm like, no, but I should be the one to plug in all these things on the spreadsheet. And I should be the one who has to do all the grunt work. And, I don't want you to have to do that. She's like, no, that's what you're hiring me to do.
And you're taking one step closer to just doing that by at least asking her to help you do it.
Yes. And so that's what I'm saying. Maybe you need baby steps to get this support. Yeah. You might not be able to jump in full throttle and get all these people on the team. But if you could even just start with one person and, ask them to encourage you to hand off some things. And it just makes life so much better. I think so often we think, oh, I've got to do it all myself. I mean, that really is the thing. And I don't want to ask other people for help. And it's a gift. You're giving people a gift by asking them for help because they're empowered individuals. They can say no. Mm-hmm. You're not forcing anyone to do anything. And that's the thing I really have to keep reminding myself. It's like, you can make an empowered request for help and people can say an empowered, yes, I'd love to help you. Or they can say an empowered, no, I can't right now, but keep doing your thing. I believe in you. And I have to do that for myself too. People ask me for help. Some of the things that I regret, I don't have too many regrets, but there are moments when people have asked things of myself that I knew I either wasn't going to want to do or that was going to be super inconvenient and was not really my problem. Like they were making an external problem my problem. And I said yes. And those are the few things in life where I think back and say, I should have just said an empowered no. Mm. I should have just said, I would love to help you. I think what you're doing is great. I can't support you in that way right now. But I was so worried. Oh, what if they think I don't like them? What if they don't want to be my friend anymore? Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's just, but I regretted it later. So it's a good reminder that we are empowered individuals.
Empowered to say yes or no, and empowered to ask for help when you need it. And also empowered to be okay if somebody says no.
Yes. That's a great summary of this entire episode. Good job, Ivy.
For at least the last 5 minutes.
That's true. There was a lot more here, too.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And thank you, our awesome listeners, for checking out this inspired conversation. Is that what we're calling it?
Inspired conversation.
Hey, this inspired conversation.
It still feels good 25 minutes later.
Awesome.
Still feels good.
I call it a win.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm down. I'm getting the lingo. I'm catching the wave. I'm riding the train. I'm on the caboose.
Drinking the Kool-Aid?
I hope not. Only if it's good fruit punch Kool-Aid and not like cultish Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I forgot that that's sort of the sinister origin of that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It got really slangy, like in middle school, and it just wasn't.
Like in what way? Like for fun? Like, yo, you want to go drink the Kool-Aid? Was it?
No, then they would be like, "Get out of my Kool-Aid." Don't you remember that phrase?
No.
Maybe it was a Kansas thing. I don't know.
Wow.
They would just be like, "Get up out of my Kool-Aid," and then
What does it mean?
I don't know. It just meant get out of my business. You're all up in my stuff. This is my Kool-Aid, not your Kool-Aid.
I didn't know that. Wow.
I remember that in middle school.
I'm learning all kinds of new things today.
I didn't think about this. I don't think I learned this sort of sinister thing until literally like the last few years. I was like, oh.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's from cults. So
thanks.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
reminding us.
I'm sorry to bring it down.
At the very end.
That's right. Well,
You're ruining my Kool-Aid.
Oh, that's so good. Well, our amazing listeners, we will never ask you to drink Kool-Aid that you have not prepared yourself.
Why would you say that?
I always try to have some kind of transition, and 50% of the time...
trying to host a Kool-Aid party?
That's true. We could have an empowered give.
What if we have a motivational millennial Kool-Aid party? Or a Kool-Aid stand? Oh, do you know why Kool-Aid could totally be our official drink? Because the Kool-Aid man is always breaking through walls.
Oh, just like...
He's like breaking through resistance.
Yeah. It's just like,
Bam. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, breaking through your limiting beliefs and your inner self-limiting walls. Wow.
See, that's a much more positive view of Kool-Aid.
Ooh, yeah. All right, drink the Kool-Aid, friends. That's what we're saying. I'm changing my original position.
Wonderful.
Oh, all right. Well, peace and love, and we look forward to catching you next time on the Motivational Millennial Podcast.
Bye. For show notes and previous episodes, or to learn more about our coaching and event offerings, visit motivationalmillennial.com. That's millennial, MILLENNIAL. Keep in touch with us at facebook.com/motivationalmillennial.
We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email with your thoughts, comments, and suggestions at podcast@motivationalmillennial.com. And tell us who you might like to hear from, or if you think you or anyone you know would be good for the show.
Our theme music was composed and performed by our very own Blake Brandis.
The Motivational Millennial Podcast is edited by Brittany Felix. Have a great week, Motivational Millennials!